What's up, everybody? Welcome back in to TK Wrestling. We are here with another TK pod. Specifically, you're going to be talking about some SmackDown. Look, Matt, you and I talked about it a little bit before, jumping into the show.
Mm-hmm.
A decent show, but a lot from what a lot of people are saying, a little bit lackluster, a little bit lacking. It felt. I think it just wasn't as fast paced as a lot of people expect it to be. But at the end of the day, it is 3-hour television. You got to get your commercial breaks in, and at the end of the day, it's not Netflix. You can't wait 30 minutes in and then skip all of your ads as you just catch up throughout the show. So this I think is just going to be a part of everyday or every weekly television as we go forward, where I think the commercials are just going to be more and more of a contention point for people. But I think that's in large part because we're starting to slowly get away from regular cable television. And I think a lot more people are going to start disliking regular cable television as we progress further and further away from it. And I think SmackDown is going to be a big proponent of that. And I also think that with the recent rumors that we've heard that SmackDown is not going back to 2 hours, that it's going to stay at 3 hours, that this is something that we got to get used to. Look, we're going to jump more into it, but yeah, what did you think about the show overall, just like as an overarching night of wrestling?
I thought, I thought it was bookended strongly. Like, I thought Bianca's, promo to start the show, and then obviously the promo to end the show. I thought, if anything, the wrestling was weak to last night, really. So the promos, I thought, were really top notch. I thought this was great story. Like I said, even the stuff with Solo and Fatu that we'll talk about later and whatnot, I felt like story-wise, there was even an AJ Styles bit, So story-wise, I felt like very strong. Wrestling, it felt very sloppy, and I'll talk about that, and you might have to educate me and be like, as we go along, we talk about some technical aspects maybe, but then, like I said, just the commercials. Here's the thing. Triple H needs to hire a czar of commercials. There needs to be some guy whose job it is to know exactly where every commercial break has to go, has to pre-plan the show. I mean, it's like have you heard like that? I don't know. I've never used it because I usually don't have to pee during the movies, right? The first one I had to pee at was this new Mission Impossible movie because it's 3 hours long. So be aware. Like that and a super large Coke Zero pushes my endurance maybe. But yeah, I mean, look, they've got these websites, right, where it's like, when's the perfect time to take a piss break? Have you seen these or whatever? It's like, oh yeah, no, once this character starts monologuing about this dumb thing that's going to not matter, this is your 3-minute, opportunity to go out there and piss before the action or before major story things kick in. So like I said, there's got to go hire this piss break guy, make him find the piss breaks in the show, and set the commercials there. Because I mean, you can't, I think we had 2 commercials between in both Money in the Bank qualifying matches. I think we had 2 long commercial breaks, which just maybe the wrestling wasn't bad. Maybe I just didn't get to see enough of it that I felt like I had any continuous flow in some of these matches. You know what I mean? Somebody has to figure that out. I don't think it's network I just think it's poor placement because there's promos in there that don't need to be in there sometimes. Think about it. Did you need Tiffany Stratton last night?
You mean the little backstage segment?
Yeah, a little backstage segment. I mean, I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying, did you need it necessarily? I mean, look, everybody wants to see Tiffy. Don't get me wrong, but there's ways to time that. You could put that Tiffany segment anywhere. I just wish there was better planning. I mean, and I'm spoiled. Like I said, I came back to watching wrestling in the Netflix era, technically. So I am a little spoiled by that. And usually PLEs that aren't Saturday Night Main Event are usually pretty well done on the commercial aspect as well. But I don't know. I mean, I remember they did one SmackDown this year where they had the entire third hour was commercial free or whatever. And I know they've done the picture-in-picture sometimes, with the commercial.
Yeah, they did it a few times last night. Yeah.
So it's just a couple of those things, and maybe it's also that I'm streaming USA versus watching it. And maybe I don't get the picture-in-picture. I didn't even think about that because I don't get picture-in-picture often. I go straight to commercials. So I wonder if that's the case, that I'm streaming USA rather than watching it on network television. Because like I said, they have 2 different commercial setups, for streaming and terrestrial televisions. So yeah, I don't know. But anyways, that said, for me, it was mostly the flow of the wrestling. I never really got into it, some of those matches. Like when Fatu went through the railing or whatever, they cut to commercial. And it was,
Well, let me ask you though. So that one specifically,
mhm.
what would you have rather them do? Because are we just going to go back to the ring and just pretend that Batu's not just like laying out there, just
I
like
mean, but
we're just gonna
you got the two other guys, and they're in the ring wrestling. Like when
yeah
we came back from commercial, two was supposedly still there. Like, there's got to be times where you can pick a commercial break where like both guys are going to hit a spot and they both go out. Like like when Damian and if Drew and Damian had been in a 2-man match instead of a 4-way match, in that fatal 4-way at what was it, match,
mhm.
and you saw them go off the top, and let's say they're going to continue the match, but for the second, both of them were just down and out. Leave the camera on them for 2 seconds, 3 seconds, linger on it for a second, show, go to commercial, 2 minutes of commercial, come back, and they're just getting up.
Well, then the match would be over.
No, no, no,
No,
no.
10 seconds and you're down. If both competitors are down for more than 10 seconds, the match is over. So that's a rule. So the competitors can't be down for more than 10 seconds. Like if every active competitor in the match is inactive for more than 10 seconds, then they call the match off.
I guess I swear I've seen matches where like they're both laying there and they're fighting to get up. Like, oh,
Well, yeah, but you just said 2 minutes. So 2 minutes, that's a whole.
I mean,
that's 120 seconds.
I've seen them go longer than 10 seconds, so I feel like doing that.
Yeah, and maybe they've kind of abandoned the whole 10-second rule, but that used to
I mean,
be
I
a
know.
thing
I mean,
where if
I
you
mean,
were down, they would
I
count.
mean, I know they used to do count outs. Like, I don't know when the last time I saw. I think there was one count out this year, right? I remember one.
Yeah, they do still the count out, but they do still
But
do the count outs.
I don't think I've ever seen neither guy. And I'm not saying that both guys just lay there and not move. I'm just saying like Rocky sort of thing where they're both climbing the ropes to get back up, and they can do that all for the end stage people, or maybe and then when you come back from commercial, finally, Jey Uso has pulled himself all the way up to the top rope, and he's feeling it. Well, and yeet, and now we're back.
Yeah, I do disagree. I agree with you on the fact that the commercials were just like way too much last night.
And I'm not saying do that every time. I'm just saying there's one opportunity of a way to do it.
Well, I'm just saying specifically with the Fatu spot is, to me that's a perfect opportunity to go to commercial, because then you've got the number one guy that everybody wants to see on TV, arguably in the match. Now he's out for the count. And it's like, okay, if we don't do the commercial here now, let's say this match has to have 2 commercial spots because it's a 17-minute or 18-minute segment, and we got to fit two commercial breaks in here. If you don't do it while Fatu is down, are you going to do it while Fatu is back up and getting all his heat back? And so therein lies okay, we got the momentum now has come to like an automatic all of a sudden, because you think of Fatu and he was the one bringing the heat to both of these guys for the most part. Like he is the guy bringing all the heat. And now all of a sudden you get this crash of momentum where it's like you have all this momentum going, then all of a sudden it just dies down. And so now you've reached the low point in the match. The other two guys, and Andrade and Melo, can then take their time and really get their breath again, because now the Samoan werewolf, or this freight train that's been running through everybody, has taken himself out for at least a half a second. I think in that spot, I actually don't mind. I don't think that you're wrong in your opinion, obviously. I just personally didn't mind it there, is all I'm saying.
I guess, like I said, my thing on that spot, like I can see where you take a commercial spot on that spot, but they went to commercial so fast. Like I need more time to, and like that's why I text you. I go, do you think they went to commercial because of the cursing? Because everybody started chanting, "Holy shit!" And like I was like, maybe they, we've heard all the things WWE's talked about with language and whatnot. So just made me wonder if that was part of the reason they cut to commercial so fast. But it felt like a quick cut. And then, but then you also play off the idea that now we've gone to commercial for 4 minutes or whatever, and Fatu is just now getting up. And you're going to tell me he's going to get up now and be like, I mean, I know that's the wrestling, kayfabe.
Right.
But, it's like it took him 4 minutes to recover, but now he's like, it's like, I don't know. So like
that's sometimes the Samoans, man. Yeah.
Sometimes it's just the long commercial breaks. Like that's the other thing. It's the length of some of these, because sometimes they're short. Sometimes, like I said, it's like a 2-minute commercial break, but sometimes they're like 4 or 5 minutes. It's like we were talking about at Saturday Night Main Event, in that finals match where we literally went to commercial for like 5 minutes in the middle of the Jey Uso Logan Paul finals match.
Yeah, we came back to less time left in the match than that commercial break was.
Right. So I mean, so I'm just, like I said, I understand the commercials. It's a necessary evil. There needs, like, I don't know, like I said, I don't know how it's planned, but like Triple H needs a guy in there who, like, that's his entire job, is to know where the commercials go, for how long, and be like, no, look, this has to be the 4-minute spot because later, look, you don't want to cut this and that. I know this is traditionally the 4-minute spot. You just have to tell your sponsors, like this is how the show's going to work tonight. Something. I don't know.
Well, WWE is about to make me pay for a VPN so I can just watch Canadian Netflix and just watch SmackDown on there and skip all the ads. Because I'll pay the VPN every year if that means I get to skip all these damn ads on SmackDown every week. But let's jump into the actual show and what was going on tonight. We're in Knoxville, Tennessee, your old stomping grounds, Di.
Rocky Top, baby. Rocky Top. Man, I was unexpected. I didn't look it up to see where SmackDown was going to be. So when I turn it on and Bianca's coming out and she's all in that orange, I mean, I didn't think of it. And then she's like, well, I'm like, whoa, what? We're at Knoxville. And then she's saying Rocky Top, and Bianca just, look, she winning me over with that.
Hey, look, dude, she's one of the greatest of all time. So, like, women's wrestlers to come through the WWE, and she's still so young and has so much time left. But yeah, she's out here tonight in her hometown of Knoxville, Tennessee. Her family's in the crowd, and she's still hurt. She's got the fingers wrapped up, so the fingers are still bothering her. Obviously. Right. Look, if you've never broken any fingers or had any damaged fingers, for anybody listening, fingers suck, man. They suck to heal. I've broken all 4 of these on each hand at least once. Broken the middle fingers on each finger or on each hand twice, and you can they still got some bumps and bruises to them. So healing hands and fingers is no joke, especially as a wrestler. You're using your hands so much in the ring. So hope that she's here back, sooner rather than later, because WWE with Bianca around is a better WWE. But she said that she, couldn't miss the opportunity to show up in her hometown and remind everybody who she was, that she's still Bianca Belair. And then, of course, we get interrupted by her former best friend, Naomi. And look, Naomi comes out and she says all that she really wants is Bianca's forgiveness. Bianca's been ghosting her, ignoring her texts, ignoring her voicemails and her missed calls or whatever. Somebody made a joke last night. It sounded like the Eminem song, Stan. Dear Slim, I wrote you, but you still ain't. Yeah. Right. That's what it felt like. And Naomi even says that she broke into Jade's parents' home, and she said, "You remember that little photo album you have right there on the coffee table?" And you could just see that struck a nerve with Bianca, and talking about how Bianca was so happy in those pictures, and it just reminded her of the times that they had as friends. And Bianca eventually came out and said, "Look, you betrayed my trust. You backstabbed me. You turned on one of our friends, and then you lied to me for months. Like, I can't trust you anymore." And I thought maybe we were going to get to see a moment of them get physical, even with Bianca's hand. Right. Because there's a lot of stuff you could still do with a messed up hand, right?
Yeah. I mean, you do a power kick or whatever. Yeah. So
you do a power bomb, a slam, something you could have done. And I'm not too upset that they didn't give it to us, because they're just saving it for down the line. But then Jade Cargill comes out and kind of makes the save, and even Jade and Bianca have a little stare down with each other. Jade saying that I didn't forget how all this went down, how this, our little group, kind of dissolved, how it all happened. So I thought this was a good, fun opening segment. I like to see them keeping the tension between Naomi and Bianca and Jade still prevalent, because I think that, look, we'll talk about the qualifier match that happened right after this, but I think this is a WrestleMania match next year. This feels like Jade, Bianca, and Naomi for the women's championship on SmackDown. That's what I feel like where we're headed. And I could have made a case for SummerSlam, and maybe we do still get SummerSlam. But with Bianca's injury and Naomi maybe being Miss Money in the Bank, because I think there's a lot of different ways that this could go. But I do think that this triple threat match is something that we're seeing down the line. If not SummerSlam, I pray that it's main event or at WrestleMania, because it just feels like a high caliber match that we spent almost 2 years building at this point by the time it would have happened. So give me that match in the future, hopefully at WrestleMania. But yeah, after this, we get the Money in the Bank qualifier. Between the one that we were really excited about last week when we talked about it was Jade, Naomi, and Nia Jax. Of course, Naomi does pick up the win over Nia Jax. She gets like a little roll-up pin after Nia hits the drop on Jade, and then Naomi like rolls out of the way and gets
rolls out of the way. She was trying to hit the double drop or something.
Yeah, exactly. So Naomi ends up picking up the win, and she qualifies for Money in the Bank. And I got to be honest with you, I think Naomi qualifying, I think she's already a front runner to win the whole thing. I think that her storyline and her character work and where I could see her going, as I just mentioned, just puts the writing on the wall. And I said well over a month ago, Naomi was going to be your next women's champion on SmackDown.
Yeah, no,
And
no,
I
you've
think
been high on
this is a
Naomi.
really good way. I think this is a really good way to get her there. So tell us, Matt, what you thought about the opening segment. I know you said you already talked about Rocky Top and the Tennessee connection, but tell us what you thought about the opening segment and the opening match.
No, look, I thought the opening section was great. Like I said, I'm still with this Naomi Bianca feud, though it got a little weird. You know, Naomi made it a little weird and creepy, maybe. You know, but you know, look, tell me how long's Jade been in the business?
Well, she was in AEW for like 5 years max, I think.
Dude, she's still so rough, in my opinion. I mean, I know everybody's going to come at me. Maybe
in what way? Like
in the ring, like we go into the match. Like one of my things that I hated in this match. Well, first thing I hated was the fact that it started in a commercial break. Like, yet again, go to the commercials. This was one, I'm just looking at Bleacher Report. I thought I was just doom scrolling on my phone and missed the start of this. No, it happened during the commercial break. Yeah. So here's another, what are we doing, Pee-wee? But anyways, no, look, it's little things. Like, I still don't think she can work a mic that well. I still think she's super stiff. I think it's gotten better, so it is improving. But it's like you've got Bianca and Naomi who just going at it so well. And then you get Jade in there, and it's like, we got to stop and slow down for a second, you know, when we're doing promos. Then the match, I don't know, this was, I don't know which one it was, but punching in the WWE, I feel like is maybe, and this is across the board, but I saw it twice, at least 2, maybe 3 times last night. But just simple punches, I feel like nobody's selling those anymore. You know, like we're all worried about the power bombs and the, you know, the whatever else, the frog splashes, the moonsaults, you know, we're all worried about those sorts of things that, I mean, there was one point, like you said, I think it was just Jade and Naomi, and they're doing this, you know, like, I mean, look, it kills me. Look, punching should be, I feel like one of the ground basic things that you know how to do is how to throw a punch and take a punch, because that's some of the most basic side of wrestling, if nothing else. I mean, it's kind of reduced now. We see a lot more slaps, I feel like, than we used to see punches when it was back in my day. In the 80s and whatnot, there was more of the punch the head, you know. So there's more chest slaps now, but still the punching, I don't know. And so this was more a highlight of, I think, Naomi and Nia anyways. I feel like Jade was kind of there to, I thought she was going to eat the pin, obviously. I'm kind of surprised that Naomi got the pin on Nia, but no, like,
at least it was a surprise one. So not damaging, at least.
No, not at all. It was a great match by Nia. I think Nia looks incredible right now. I think she's slimmed down a little bit.
And I think she's on the best run of her career too.
No, Nia's killing it right now, and I like that they're keeping her away from the title. I feel like whatever you're going to do with Gunther, you should look at what you're doing with Nia. You know what I'm saying? Like, because Nia is somebody who you feel like should have the title all the time. She's kind of like Rhea. You know, you feel like, why? How's this, you know, badass bitch not have the title, you know? So, you know, and same with Gunther. Like, you see Gunther, you know, it's like, look, man, like that guy, you know, you really believe he tapped out that quickly? I mean, something must have gone. Maybe Gunther's got PTSD with tap outs. I don't know, or chokeholds. I don't know about. But, you know, and then they don't know what to do with him, because if you're not putting Gunther in title matches, you're like, what are we doing with him? And that's why right now Gunther's feeling so weirdly wasted, I guess. So whatever what they're doing with Nia, kind of what they're doing with Rhea, I think they need to look at, that's what they need to do with Gunther, because man, it's still compelling watching Nia even when she's losing, you know, and you can feel her.
Which is so funny, because prior to this run for Nia, she was universally hated. She was known for hurting people in the ring. At least that was the preconceived notion of her. There was a lot of people that had gotten hurt in matches with Nia. And so she had that following her around. But ever since she's come back this time and she's gotten into this character that she's in, it's been a home run for her ever since she's come back. So,
that's why I compare her to Gunther, because Gunther seems like the guy who, like I said, nobody likes. If anything, if he's not hurting maybe people intentionally, but I'm sure after that match, your chest looks redder than it's ever looked, or something.
Right.
It's kind of like I said. I feel like they're very similar. Maybe I'm wrong, but just, you know, from an outsider coming in late, they look like they've kind of got similar characteristics.
I don't hate that call. And before we jump in, I do want to say the whole, you know, what are we doing without them, or what are we doing with them without a championship in terms of Rhea on the other side? That's been a big running narrative for a lot of people, is WWE doesn't know how to book Rhea unless she has a championship around her waist. So, but you know. All right, so let's talk about the next segment, which we had a brief backstage encounter between Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, JC Mateo, and that led to R-Truth, eventually saying like, hey, you got something to say to me? When Solo was kind of bickering because when they walked up, he was talking to little Jimmy, so on and so forth. That set up a match between R-Truth and JC Mateo. Fatu, nowhere to be seen because he said, y'all go handle y'all stuff. I'm going to handle my own.
I got my own thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Solo comes out with JC Mateo. And look, this is a pretty quick match, kind of what we expected to see.
This was a squash match too, technically, right?
And the thing about R-Truth matches is like you can always call them a squash match, but he gets at least a little bit of offense. And this wasn't a Rusev and Tozawa. This wasn't Rusev and Tozawa, but it was maybe a step or two ahead of it, if that. But yeah, look, dude. Teo looks great. We knew who Jeff Cobb was, at least those of us who knew Jeff Cobb before he signed. We knew what his talent was. We knew what his strengths were. And look, his finisher looks badass. He has cool looking moves.
The island, the Tour of the Islands, or what's it called?
Tour of the Islands, yeah. And it looks really good. And dude, I got to be honest with you. Solo Sikoa is very quickly becoming one of my favorite wrestlers on the entire roster. The way that his comedic timing, his backstage segments are always the most entertaining backstage segments of the entire show. When he gets a mic in his hand, he's really, really good now. Look, dude, the Solo that we knew 4 years ago from NXT as the Street Fighter, as the North American champion, he has come leaps and bounds. And I am at the point now where I would actually be thrilled if Solo Sikoa won the Money in the Bank match in a few weeks, or next week at that. I don't think that he's necessarily my number one pick, but I would be really happy if he won it because I'd be really interested to see what Solo does in a run with the briefcase. Like, dude, I genuinely mean it. When he is one of the most hilarious guys on the entire roster. And if you're not like watching his body language or like, did you see the toe taps he did during the match on ringside? Dude, it cracked me up. He's just so funny. His comedic timing is perfect. He has learned a lot from his family, I'm assuming, because he has a lot of funny family members from that Samoan lineage or bloodline or whatever. And I don't know, man. I'm just becoming a huge fan of Solo. And I think that when the internet and a lot of us included, were calling for his head in terms of he has no direction and we don't really know where he's going after the Ulafala match with Roman, I think he has done a complete 180 and he has turned that completely on its head.
No, you're right. No, and I think that was part of it though. I think Roman kind of had to disappear. Because think about it, this has kind of all come on since Roman hasn't been around, and
That's fair.
I'm not sure who that's on. If that's on the WWE, because they're like, we're only going to write for Roman. Okay, now that we're done with writing for Roman, all right, guys, now you're on Solo. I don't know, or if it's like a psychological thing, like we did it on purpose. Like Solo doesn't feel comfortable until Roman's gone to like take this role. I'm not sure what it is, but we've seen since then this, him like, I don't know if to say coming out of his shell, but coming into like a new persona in a sense. Like when he ran the bloodline or the new bloodline last year, he wasn't like this. This is like Paul Heyman Solo a little bit, coming out there. This is like Solo doing his best Cody Rhodes. I mean, this is Solo trying to find a way, and I appreciate it because I don't like that. I mean, we know that Fatu we feel like they're going to break. There's going to be a break in the bloodline. I like that it feels like that Solo's really trying. He's really trying. So going back to this R-Truth match, look, I just want to say I want R-Truth to steal all Cena's moves. I would love that. Yeah. That would be great if like that's the tribute. Like, like Cena retires and R-Truth officially gets the blessing of whatever, the 5-knuckle shuffle, whatever it may be, officially gets the blessing, I think that'd be a lot of fun. Then, JC Mateo, just good. Then, like I said, this was really a storyline match, right? This was a storyline match. You gave R-Truth something to do because we all love seeing R-Truth. After seeing him on Saturday Night Main Event, everybody probably wanted to see him again. And seeing him do Cena's moves again felt really, really fun, But this was really about Solo trying to build that bloodline because who came out? Jimmy came out. And who's Solo been trying to recruit? Jimmy. So this is all about, what's going on there, because like I said, JC Mateo seems to be like this spark plug, as we'll talk about later as well, that I don't know what his place is supposed to be in this new bloodline. I feel like he doesn't know his place, like he's like a rabid dog, and so it's like, okay, don't bite nobody, don't bite nobody.
Funny enough, I think he is what Solo used to be for the OG bloodline. Okay. I think he's that enforcer that kind of, it's funny, I think that Solo to JC Mateo is what Roman used to be to Solo in the OG bloodline, where it's like, JC Mateo knows his role in terms of he is the enforcer. He is the guy that does the dirty work. He is the guy that gets his hands dirty. But sometimes Roman or Solo had to snap him back a little bit. We saw that with the Jimmy stuff. He laid Jimmy out or attacked him or whatever, and Solo was like, come on, man, chill. I get what you're doing, but we're trying to get him back into the group. So it was leveling the brain of JC Mateo. And that's what I really like about, and that's what I really like about Solo. And you mentioned the Paul Heyman effect. I think that the Paul Heyman effect is real on Solo. Let's not forget that Solo got to run alongside Paul Heyman for a good two and a half years.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I think that's a big part of it. And look, R-Truth has been doing the Cena moves on and off for a few years now. But I agree with you. If by the time Cena is all done and he wraps it up, and that's his blessing to Truth on the way out, he says, look, you carry the hustle, loyalty, and respect until you're done. Like now in my absence. I like that. And also going back to the opening segment, when we're talking about Jade on the mic, get Jade a mouthpiece, dude. Get Jade a mouthpiece and just let her be the badass that can focus on the in-ring work. Let her have a mouthpiece that speaks for her, and watch how far her mic game jumps. Like, pair her with somebody like obviously it can't be Paul Heyman right now unless you do something crazy, but get her a good mouthpiece and watch how fast she jumps up in terms of her promo work.
Hey, look, I'm for that mouthpiece idea, except I think they want to make Jade a big thing. I mean, because look, she is built. She has the look. She's got most of the moves and whatnot. Hey, if she could work a mic, like Bianca or Naomi or anybody else in the women's or even the men's, whatever, she'd be rising, dude. I mean, so yeah, get her a mouthpiece. But I feel like, I can't have her be Storm in the X-Men movie if she can't work a mic.
Well, I think we're all out on the Storm being Jade Cargill. I think it's going to be old girl from Wicked.
No, God, no. Save me.
That's what I'm hearing. I mean, there have been people in the past before that ended up being some of the greatest of all. Brock Lesnar, some of these guys that ended up not having a mouthpiece, that if you really push towards their aura and their in-ring work, and the stuff on the mic will come eventually, All right, let's jump into the next segment. This was a tag team little turmoil that we had. The tag team champions, the Street Profits, they come out to the ring, give a quick promo talking about how they're the guys on the brand, and they're leading the charge for the SmackDown division. But they are interrupted by, among a bunch of other groups, as we'll find out in a second, Fraxium. And Fraxium says, look, we didn't exactly get a fair shake at those championships last week, and I think that we deserve another match because you guys never beat us. That leads to Motor City Machine Guns, and Motor City Machine Guns says, hey, if that's the basis we're going on, they never beat us either. So if you're handing out title shots, we want one of those. And then DIY comes out with Candice LeRae, and they talk about how they deserve a chance because they are the ones that built up the tag team division on SmackDown. Then they ask for a moment of silence, and when the moment of silence happens, the lights go out, and when the lights come back on, the Wyatt Six are there to attack everybody. They run roughshod on the entire division that is in the ring. Look, I don't hate this, but I just wonder where we're going with the Wyatt Six. And it's early; they're still getting here, and that's why I'm not hating on it, because we still got some time to really build up to what we're doing here. But I guess I'm just confused because this doesn't feel like a group that should be going after championships. But then you run the risk of like, okay, if they're not going to go after championships, then what are they going to do? And so I feel like the Wyatt Six are in this weird rock and a hard place situation where it's like, okay, they're these supernatural entities that you could argue are the embodiment of the spirit of Bray Wyatt, right? That's what they are, the physical embodiment of the spirit of Bray Wyatt. But like, even Bray wasn't all that concerned with championships in the peak of his career. So I guess I wonder what the ultimate goal is. And maybe the ultimate goal is to build the legitimacy of the group up since they've been gone for so long. So where you can eventually do Uncle Howdy and John Cena, because I think that eventually has to happen. With all the Bray Wyatt and John Cena backstory, it would just be a disservice to fans to not at least give us one match between Uncle Howdy and John Cena by the time John Cena hangs him up. So that's a whole nother.
What if that's the match that brings Cena back to face from heel?
Be.
Because what if it's some psychological playhouse match or something? Yeah.
Well, just like he and Bray had at WrestleMania 36.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it was. So yeah, I'm right there with you, dude. And I could, if it does happen, it should be a cinematic style match. It should be. I'm right there with you. But that's something we could fantasy book down the line. Let's finish talking about this segment. So the Wyatt Six eventually takes everybody out, and they leave everybody laying, and then we go to another break. The theme of the night, the commercials. And when we come back, we get Angel and Berto, and they're going to be taking on a SmackDown, making a SmackDown debut. Javon Evans and Ray Phoenix, the tag team of those two. Of course, I didn't know about this match because I've been slacking a little bit on NXT, but this was in large part to help build both of these, or all of these people involved in this match, for their Worlds Collide matches coming up next week before Money in the Bank. So as we know, Javon Evans, Ray Phoenix are going to be in a fatal four-way match for the NXT North American Championship, who we saw last night on commentary in Ethan Page, and they'll also be taking on Laredo Kid in a fatal four-way match for that title. And then, of course, Los Garzas with Santos Escobar are going to be taking on, they're opposing, I can't remember everybody's name, Dr. Wagner, Psycho Clown, and there's one person I can't remember, but it's a 6-man tag match for Worlds Collide. I'll look it up in a minute. But also really surprised to see Los Garzas get the win here, but I felt like they needed it more than Javon Evans did in his SmackDown debut. So look, I thought this was a really fun match. I want to hear your overall ideas of the tag segment with the Wyatt Six and the match, but I really want to hear your opinion on Javon Evans, because this was your to Javon Evans and what he is able to do. Look, dude, this guy is the future. He's 21 years old. Like I said, Randy Orton went down to NXT to face this guy, and he's had some of the best NXT matches in the company and the brand's history. So I really, look, it was a little watered down for what we're used to seeing from Javon Evans, but I really wanted to just get your opinion on what you saw with him and then the overall segment.
All right. Well, like I said, overall segment. I think the overall segment beginning was fun because Fraxium has gotten a lot of love, obviously from myself as well, since they've come onto SmackDown. So I can see like some jealousy from the other tag squads, because we've said SmackDown men's tag division is pretty rock solid, unlike Raw. So this was a fun little segment. The Wyatt Six coming out again. I think you did it because I feel like you got to let people know their backs. If you didn't see like last week's SmackDown or whatever it was that came out with the cake, then now you know. So I feel like we're gonna get a couple more segments like this where they pop up before we start seeing them actually do some action. But I mean, I think WWE wants to get them back firmly in people's minds before we start moving forward with the Wyatt Six. But no, I'm with you right now. I don't know what they're doing with it. So that's my theory, is that this is why they're slow rolling it in a sense, or what they're trying to do. As for the match itself, dude, this match was probably the best match of the night. Like I said, it was a lot of fun. I was also surprised Los Garzas won, but at the same time, I feel like they're trying to bring Berto over in some ways, or they're trying to solo him up. So you can't keep having him lose, but at the same time, you can't keep having Ray Phoenix lose. And then I was like, and you brought Javon Evans in. Did you bring him? So I was surprised, and I was surprised Evans took the pin, but I was like, Ray Phoenix can't take the pin. But no, Evans was a lot of fun to watch. He reminds me when I was in high school wrestling. There's this guy, just this long, strong, quick wrestler. His name was Charles McTorry, and Javon Evans reminds me of Charles McTorry. Just his length and just his athleticism, like his ability. I think like one time, he jumped nearly across the entire ring from the top rope. It was a lot of fun. It's like, yeah, I hadn't seen him before. He looked like a guy, like I said, that I want to see wrestle somebody like Chad Gable or something, like just a guy I'd love to see. Or like I said, I'd love to see him and Ray go out, or I'd love to see a singles match. Or I'd love to see this guy in a singles match where I just see more of him. Because I feel like he was just kind of getting into a groove and whatnot. He probably doesn't have a lot of familiarity wrestling with these other guys before, so I just, I want to see more of him.
It is also a tag match, so you arguably get a quarter of the time.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So that's why I said a singles match.
We got to go watch some of his NXT matches, like you and I together, because there's a lot of them that I haven't seen yet, that I've just seen highlights of, that are match of the year contenders. So, like I said, this dude's so young, and his future is so bright. So I'm glad that you got a good exposure to him.
And at the same time, we know what this match was doing. You said it's setting up Worlds Collide. That's the next big thing that they're really trying to hype. I mean, this meeting of whatever luchadorism and American wrestling. Technically, I guess those are the worlds that are colliding. Not that they haven't collided before, but with this collision, we're making it the huge one. So I'm excited for that, because like, look, the way the luchadors have gotten over in the WWE has been fantastic, and I feel like they've brought a level of athleticism where before I felt like it was more pageantry. When I was younger, Like a luchador was more, you have a mariachi band sometimes even come out with you. It was more like a gimmick, I felt, than it was the high flying style. Maybe it was in Mexico, but when they brought to America, they watered it down. You can't have Hulk Hogan getting what's the what starts with an H, I think. What's with the legs? When you come, you jump and you take the legs over the head and you pull the person down with the
A hurricanrana?
Yeah, hurricane. See, I knew it started with an H or whatever.
There
So
you go.
hurricane. I almost said I was supposed to say a hurry or something. I was like, wait,
Yeah.
hurricane, a hurricanrana. Could you imagine Hulk Hogan taking a hurricanrana? Like in 1988. No,
That doesn't work for me, brother.
That's not wrestling, brother. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pick you up. I'm gonna body slam you, and that's gonna be it. So,
and the crowd's gonna eat it up, brother.
They're gonna eat it up, and then you're gonna get up, and the mariachi band is gonna play again. And you're gonna walk off, and that'll be congratulations, luchador.
That sounds like some shit Hogan would say.
So yeah, look, I love it. It's great. I'm all excited for Worlds Collide. This match didn't need to exist. It only, I feel like, existed because of Worlds Collide, but it ended up being, like I said, probably the most entertaining match of the night. So yeah, but man, we got to get Rey Fenix some wins.
I'm telling you, man, it's eventually he and Penta are just going to lose enough to where they have no choice but to join up. All right, so the match that we're talking about for Worlds Collide, I couldn't remember the last person, so I pulled it up. Legado del Fantasma, that's of course Santos, Angel, and Berto, going up against El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., Psycho Clown, and Pagano. Also, a match that I didn't see announced is Stephanie Baquera and Lola Vice going up against Chic Tormenta and Dalis. I think that's how you say the name, so apologies if I butchered that. My Espanol es muy mal, so it is not very good. All right, so going into the next segment, we have a backstage segment with Chelsea Green and Nick Aldis. This was funny. Chelsea, of course, broke her nose at Saturday night's main event, and she's got the beautiful rainbow bedazzled face mask to cover up
the red, white, and blue kind of. Yeah. I thought it was more. Was it rainbow?
Okay. Yeah, colors across.
Okay, yeah. I thought it was patriotic. I didn't examine it closely, I guess.
No, and look, we don't jump into a lot of social topics here, so we won't dive too much into it, but Chelsea Green has come out and said that she's a very big advocate for LGBTQIA plus advocacy, and I'm all for it. And so I love to see it. I think Piper Niven, and I don't know about Alba Fire, but I know that Piper Niven, who's in the Secret Service with her, is a part of the LGBTQIA community. So cool to see her showing some support for one of her best friends, and just she's never been scared to be outspoken about that, so that's cool. We do eventually get Alba Fire. Nick Aldis sets up a match with Alba and Zelina Vega. Look, dude, let's talk about that match. Zelina and Alba, I gotta say it again. I love Zelina Vega. I think that she's really cool. I think that overall she's really popular. I just don't know what it is with her that seems like there's a disconnect between her and the fans. And maybe it was also Alba. Maybe people just didn't really want to see this match because they kind of knew the foregone conclusion and how it was probably going to go. And maybe that's it. But I just feel like
you feel like the crowd was into this one. Is that it?
No, I really didn't feel like it. Like I feel like they of course picked it up a little bit, but I just hate that. I'm a big advocate for women's wrestling, and some people would probably argue that I'm more of a feminist in my real life than I should be, but I just hate that when I hear, I just hate that it looks like we are getting to the stereotype of a lot of people just don't care about a lot of these women when they finally get out there to the ring, especially in the crowd. You see a lot of people getting up from their seats and going to the concessions or to the bathroom or to go buy merch or whatever it is.
In fairness, we were in Knoxville, and I'll bring that up later as well when we get to the final promo of the night. But I mean, Knoxville, not that Knoxville's backwards by any means, but if there's one town where it's probably like, we're going to go pee during the women's match, I would not take Knoxville off that list probably.
I'm just saying, guys, if Lincoln, Nebraska can sit in their seats while everybody wrestles, I think we all can. I just, I think Zelina is very talented. I think that she was a great choice to be the women's U.S. champion. I just don't think that the reign is hitting for a lot of people in the audience. And the one thing about WWE audiences is when they start to fall out of love with what you're doing with your character, because let's also be real, there's not a lot of depth to Zelina Vega's character outside of her heritage and her culture. And while I think that's beautiful, I just don't think that you can live on your heritage and your culture and be a champion in WWE and it be all that ultra successful. And with the WWE audience, to show their discontent for the way that you're going about things, they're first going to stop reacting to you. That's going to be the first thing. And then if they really don't like what you're doing, they're just going to boo you out of the building. And I think that you got to get out ahead of this early enough. I hate to say it, but I think the move has to be taking that title off of Zelina Vega very soon. Because if there's not a connection between her and the crowd for whatever reason, and it's not Zelina's fault, I'm sure, but if there's not a connection between her and the crowd and they're just not feeling her as champion, you're never going to properly build the legitimacy in the lineage of that championship. And I don't know. I hate to say it, but I feel like maybe we need to be looking at a championship title change pretty soon. But look, this was pretty straightforward. Green accidentally knocked out Piper Niven with the mask when she tried to get a cheap shot on Zelina Vega. And then her interruption and being scared by the accidental hit to the face intimidated her enough that it caused Zelina to get the win over Alba Fire. And look, I made a note. Let me see. The crowd cared more about Chelsea Green than they did this match. That's what it really felt like. It felt like I could hear Chelsea arguing with people in the crowd because the crowd was so quiet, and I could hear her over the match. So look, I love Zelina Vega. I love all of the women in this match. I think all of them are uber talented. I just feel like maybe Zelina needs a new direction because it doesn't seem to be working out. But I've said that 3 weeks in a row now, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think part of it's this she's been stuck in the Chelsea Green Secret Hervis feud for like the last couple of weeks as well. You know, look, maybe. I don't know. I do not like the secret. I think the word Hervis is one of the weirdest words that ever created in the English language. It doesn't flow off the tongue right. It feels disgusting in my mouth. I'm going to be honest. I don't mind the idea of her having like two henchmen. I got no problem with that. It's not the idea of it, but the Hervis. I don't know.
I don't mind it. I actually kind of like it. I actually kind of like it.
But here's my real thing. Look, I feel like WWE missed a genuine opportunity to do something with Chelsea Green with the broken nose. Like, I mean, I feel like she needs a new gimmick. I just don't like the Secret Hervis. I need something new. Like, imagine if the broken nose unlocked something, you know, or changed something. I don't know, but I felt like she was still the same Chelsea Green, just with a broken nose, complaining to Nick Aldis backstage. Nothing really had evolved from that injury. They didn't take any advantage of it. And you know, Alba, anytime that Alba or Piper go out there, they're going out there to lose or look like buffoons. You know, I don't know when the last time I feel bad for Alba Fire because this was a good match for her. I felt this was probably the best I've seen Alba Fire look in a while. And at the same time, it's like she's still stuck in this like comedic role. You know, and that's like I said. So then you have Zelina Vega, who is not funny. You know, in matches, I feel like it's just a poorly cast interaction. I don't know if it's Zelina Vega not getting over. I mean, because obviously Chelsea Green is. I mean, she's a heel, right? Yeah. So I mean,
she's a heel, but see, this is the beautiful thing about having a show between two people that are wrestling fans but come from such opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of the wrestling fandom, because I personally love the Secret Hervis and I love what they're doing, and the internet is in love with. I mean, I'm
probably in the minority. I'm in the minority on this, I'm sure.
Like I told you a few weeks ago, Chelsea Green is one of the most over people in terms of internet wrestling fandom in the entire company. So I think you could put her out there doing the stupidest shit and people would still love her to death. I don't think it would matter. But I also think that.
But what about the Secret Hervis? Like, I know that Chelsea Green is over. Like, I get that. And I enjoy her shtick to a degree. But the Secret Hervis does nothing for me, and they never seem to win, and they don't seem to be like a threat. I feel like I'm watching the Three Stooges. You know what I mean? Larry, Curly, and Mo, and she.
In part, you are. But I think the big thing is Alba. You got to think of what Alba was before this, right?
She was basically like a witch.
Yeah. Right, she was basically like a witch.
That's why I'm like, how's this fitting? That's why if she went to the dark side with this broken nose, and Alba like led her to the dark side, how great would that have been?
Well, and I think we could get there eventually, but I think that, I don't know. I think that personally, the way that Chelsea reacts, I think that's just her character. I think that until she turns babyface or does something drastic, like you said, I think that's just going to be how she reacts. Like, she's the whiner that doesn't get what she wants, and then whatever. But I do think that the Alba fit is something that we're all still working in. I think that we're all still working towards that. And I think it's going to get better over time. And who knows, maybe they could eventually lead down a darker route with Chelsea and with Piper. It could happen. But I think that as of right now, I think that this is a situation of go out there and make the best with what you're given And if you make the best with what you're given, they're going to have no choice but to give you better. And I think we've seen that a lot. And I think Chelsea Green is the epitome of that in her entire career so far. Like, you go and watch what she's done prior to her WWE runs, and then see what, like, she's been to WWE, was released, and then did some crazy stuff. Came back to WWE, was released, and did some crazy stuff. And then she's come back, and now she's flourishing in my mind. I think that Chelsea Green is happy where she is, and I think that she's killing every role she's given. So
like I said, I think it's just a miscast. I think it's just a miscast movie right now, and that's why it's not working with Zelina Vega, though. Like I said,
maybe
you have a Three Stooges comedy. Zelina Vega shouldn't be in that Three Stooges comedy. She needs to be in something else. And if you're going to play this shtick, then you've got to find, like, R-Truth plays that shtick so well. Like when he asked, Solo, hey, is that your son about JC Mateo? Like,
your husky son?
That's so great. I mean, that's the shtick, and it works with Solo, and it works with JC Mateo. That shtick, it's not working with Zelina Vega, so that might be part of the disconnect. But overall, I enjoyed the actual match of this match. I thought this match was pretty decent. This was better than I thought it was going to be, because I just hadn't. I wasn't into it, but I thought Alba Fire looked really good in the match, and I enjoyed some of that, like the shenanigans, like you said, Chelsea hitting Piper with the mask, Chelsea being maskless, and us getting to see that nose, because I was kind of curious what it looked like, so we got to see it. But yeah, in the end.
Well, look, and you talked about Zelina Vega, right? Maybe being a miscast in this whole situation. Let's just jump into what we saw backstage, and something that we talked about last week or the week prior.
Oh yeah, Julia, yeah, right?
Zelina Vega and Julia getting that little face to face.
That feels
right. That feels right.
See, so maybe, like I said, I think it might be that, that might be the disconnect that you're feeling, or the audience.
I think that your wantingness to separate Zelina Vega and Chelsea in the Secret Service, I think, is natural, because I think we've reached the conclusion of that. I don't think that Chelsea's getting another title shot. And I mean, she might get one more, but I really feel like post Money in the Bank, we should be moving on to Zelina and Julia, because it just feels like the natural progression. I don't think Julia should be just thrown straight into the world title picture, but I love her being in this with Zelina. And honestly, I wouldn't mind it if Zelina or if Julia held on to this title for a good 6 to 8 months and really just went on a nice little run with it. And a good way that you could protect Zelina on the way out by letting Julia take this title from her is just give them a good badass match, dude. Let them just go for like 20 minutes on a PLE and just watch them cook. And you want to get Zelina over, have her lose the title in a fashion that makes it look like she's doing everything in her power to keep this championship, because it's the most important thing. But at the end of the day, Julia was just too much and was just a little too strong and maybe a little too polished in the ring, and was able to snatch it away. But Zelina Vega looks good in her loss. And so that's where I feel like you should probably go with Zelina and Julia. And look, I love it. If that's what gets me on the right track with Zelina, then I'm all for it. Let's do it.
See, and I want Chelsea to go the Dr. Doom route. I want, Dr. Doom wears the mask. Now there's a couple different, like, his origin, is all because he's been around forever. Like, there's some ideas that when he had the suit created, they put the mask on his face and it was still too hot and it burned his face, and that seems really dumb. But the other idea is that Doom wears the mask because he believes his face is hideously discolored, and you find out he's got like a little cut, like right below his eye, sort of thing, So I can see Chelsea like, no, my beautiful face from my nose was hideously discolored. You'll never see my face again. And it's nothing but like a little, whatever, white blemish right there or something, But for her, the beautiful visage is gone. That's what I kind of wanted to play that up. I wanted her to go the Dr. Doom route. You can keep your Secret Service that way still, you're still a ruler. You're just the evil ruler who no longer wants to show her face for 6 months or something.
Well, and similarly, I kind of like what you're saying there, because it reminds me of an old gimmick that Cody Rhodes had back in the day before Cody was what Cody is now. In his first run with WWE, he had I think it was a match with Rey Mysterio, where he ended up breaking his nose. Funny enough, it might have been to a 619, but he ended up having to wear a mask everywhere. And it became that he was because prior he was dashing Cody Rhodes. He was handsome Cody Rhodes checking himself out. And then he broke his nose and he had to wear this mask. So he became undashing Cody Rhodes. And he was ashamed to show his face everywhere he went. He would turn away from the camera. He didn't want his face to be seen. And he would bring bags out to people to wear ringside and stuff. And that's where I think you should go with Chelsea, is rehash the undashing gimmick. And call it whatever you want to call it, but make it to where, you, like you said, keep the secret Herbis. Every time it looks like she's going to remove her mask, they run and cover her face,
Yeah,
because you can't see her face.
And then you can bring Alba back with her spells, and she'd be like, I'm doing a spell to heal your nose. I don't know.
And that could be like a little segment. You walk backstage and Chelsea and Piper walk in. They're like, what are you doing? And she's like, I was just trying to help your nose. I'm trying to fix your nose. And so I don't even think that it necessarily has to be like a character integration in terms of like making Alba like a witch again, but just like a little throwback to that, like a little
something.
callback.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, there's so many ways it could go, and I feel like it didn't change at all. And that's why we got this match that we kind of didn't need, didn't even really like exploit the broken nose thing. It's more that Chelsea lost and Chelsea wanted a rematch. Chelsea doesn't get a rematch. Alba gets a match, and we're. So, all right.
So backstage as well, we don't have to dive too much into it, but we're already getting some tension between Melo and Miz. You said you were happy about that because you felt like it needed to go somewhere, but I really feel like we don't necessarily have to dig in too deep in terms of splitting them up. And maybe we do now because of the result that we found out about the qualifier after the fact. So maybe we are headed towards a Splitsville for Melo and Miz a lot sooner than I thought. But I really we'll dive more into that. Just know that we saw some tension between them.
Well, we also got Damian Priest coming out.
That's what I was about to jump into. Yeah.
Officially, like I said, you're right. It's over. And I don't know when we're going to see Drew again because I don't know how hurt Drew is or what Drew's going to do when he comes back. But we kind of saw if it's not just, we saw somebody else gunning for Fatu, and it's Damian Priest. I don't know where that's going to go. I like that idea because that keeps Priest interesting, in my opinion, depending how that feud goes. And I feel like they have two different styles of wrestling. So I'm really curious how those two styles mesh together in some ways. Because like you said, we're not seeing Damian Priest going off the top rope, frog splashing anybody or anything like that. I don't think we see Damian Priest go off the top rope. Does he go off the top rope for anything? I don't even know.
He just does that old school Undertaker move.
Right. So, so that's going to be interesting. All right. But that's all I got on that. Look, I'm curious where it goes. I hope that's exciting because you know how much I'm digging on Fatu, and I'm trying to continue to like Priest, trying Damian, trying to like it. So,
hey, look, I want to put two little tallies right here for my predictions because I thought that we were going to get Damian Priest and Fatu, and it looks like we are getting that. And when it came to him leaving Drew in the cage, I said that was him leaving Drew in the past. He was walking away from him. He was done with him, and that's exactly what he said. And I'm happy to see that that's what they did because now I think
I like how he pointed it out too. He was like, look, most of these feuds only last like ours went over a year. That's not normal. Yeah.
He's like, look, guys, we reached a natural conclusion to our thing, to like what we had going on. And I like that he even gave Drew a little like, hey, look, I still can't stand your ass, but like, I got to give respect where respect is given because that was the Drew that we've all been wanting to see. And so I think that WWE did a great job in subtly telling us like, hey, when Drew comes back, he's going to be a little different. He's not going to be wired the same way because he's going to have reached a new level. And I think that the run that we really wanted Drew to go on, like going into Mania and then post-Mania, I think that we're probably going to start getting that Drew when he comes back. So don't be surprised if when Drew comes back, all of a sudden he's making he's staking his claim for that world championship on SmackDown. Again, my favorite to retire John Cena this whole run has been Drew McIntyre. And I would not be shocked if that is still the move. You want to talk about long-term storytelling and long-term booking. They have been saying for well over a decade, on and off, because he left for a while, that Drew McIntyre was the future of this industry. And what better way than to throw all of the weight of that industry to a guy who can handle it, might I add, than to have him take John Cena out in his final match on the way out. I don't know, maybe Braun Breaker's a better option, maybe LA Knight's a better option. There's options that we could argue about all day. But Drew McIntyre just makes so much sense to me. But in terms of Damian Priest, yeah, dude, look, I thought this was a great promo. I like that Fatu didn't come out and like interrupt him during the promo, but that we got their little exchange on the ramp. I like
that there was no shenanigans, that they just had a little stare down. There wasn't like oh yeah, you want this, pop, none of that. So I like that.
Yeah. And that took us straight into the Money in the Bank qualifier match, which was Carmelo Hayes, Jacob Fatu, and Andrade. Now look, let's just jump right into it because we knew this match was going to be great. We knew all three of these guys were going to absolutely cook. As much as Andrade has fallen under the radar, we all know how talented he is in the ring. it just feels like, again, Zelina. It just feels like the crowd just doesn't really get behind Andrade. I think he's got some of the coolest entrance music. I think he's got some of the coolest moves, and I think he's got an excellent look. And I think that maybe we're seeing some stuff built up with him and Berto and Ray Phoenix. So who knows where really that can go. But like you said, I did make a small comment that I wouldn't be absolutely shocked if WWE put Andrade in the Money in the Bank to continue his Money in the Bank lineage, because he's been in so many of them already. But like we said last night, I don't know that anybody was legitimately calling Andrade to win this match, and that's what happened. And Andrade ended up walking away. Look, I told you guys that Fatu wasn't going to win. I thought it was just going to be Melo that was picking up the win to go to Money in the Bank. And the Fatu stuff, it makes sense. More dissension between Fatu and Solo. It just all adds up. And I don't want to say that we're shelving the new bloodline storyline, but over the next few weeks, I think we're going to focus a little less on that, because I think we all see the writing on the wall. So unless some major stuff happens, I'm not going to dive too much into that. But I think the big thing is Andrade winning here. Does it equate to anything? Because I don't think that anybody believes that he's going to win the Money in the Bank match, but it's what happens after the fact. What does this do to reestablish some momentum for him with his stuff with Berto and Phoenix? And I really don't know, man, but I thought it was a great match. I love that the storylines of Melo and Miz and then Fatu and Solo were being interwoven in between this match. And I think that's actual beautiful storytelling when you consider, like, at the end of the day, next week, right, Melo and Fatu can say, well, Andrade didn't deserve to win it. I should have won it. And Andrade can say, hey, you guys let your outside stuff get in the way. You guys let your outside stuff get in the way of you being in Money in the Bank, and I didn't. I took advantage of that, and I won. And so I thought this was beautifully done. If you're asking me, outside of booking Melo, if you asked me to book this match with Andrade as the winner, this is the exact way I would have booked it. I think WWE hit the nail on the head. I thought it was perfect, and I thought it was an excellent surprise for Andrade winning when a lot of people expected him to be the one eating the pin here.
All right, look, I ain't got much to add here. Like, look, Fatu, I did not understand how Fatu could win this, but I don't get being in Money in the Bank when you already have a title. I admit it's not the world championship title, but you got a title. Like, Money in the Bank shouldn't be for you. So I felt like, I was like, Fatu going to win that? How's that going to work? So I thought it was going to be Carmelo Hayes. I thought it was going to be Hayes winning this match. Very surprised as Andrade. Look, I love Andrade. I echo everything you said about having the look, the moves, all that stuff. Here's the one thing. I don't know if I personally have heard Andrade on the mic since I've started watching again. Like, we've gotten tons of Miz and Carmelo, obviously gotten tons of Fatu. I don't know if I've heard Andrade on the mic once. So that's what I'm curious about. I'm sure he can work it or something, but I haven't seen an Andrade promo. I haven't even seen him like backstage with Melo, So like something like that, like before this match, the fact, like, didn't they have like a 7-match, something like that, showdown between the two of them, like within the last 2 years or something?
They had a 7-match series. Yeah, they did.
So there's not even,
and it cooked. It was good.
Yeah, so there's not even like them coming out and just be like, one more time, I guess. One more time. Let's go kick this. Cool. Let's go kick this Samoan werewolves, So, something, So
well, and what I think is so beautiful about the Melo storytelling, especially between he and Miz, is you can see the writing on the wall. He's the young rookie, quote unquote rookie. He's a former NXT champion, but he's the young upstart on SmackDown with the vet behind him that knows what he's talking about. And you can see he's still letting his ego get in the way. So him putting aside, letting bygones be bygones to take out Fatu, that probably doesn't even cross Melo's mind, because in his brain, he's him. He can do whatever. He can take out anybody he wants as long as he puts his mind to it. And I think we're headed towards Splitsville between Miz and Melo. I really think that personally, I would have loved to see Melo carrying around the Money in the Bank briefcase, and then you shift Miz and Melo over to Monday Night Raw, and just that way you can have them help elevate that Raw tag scene, and then maybe even give them a tag title run. And then imagine Melo walking around with a tag title, walking around with his Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal chain, walking around with a Money in the Bank briefcase. Like, it would have been, I think, really fun. And I guess it still could technically happen, but he's not making Money in the Bank. We already have our last qualifier set for Monday Night Raw. So,
but do we know who it is?
Yeah, it is. I'll look it up for you.
All right.
But yeah, I think that I would have personally liked to have seen Melo and Miz make their way over to Monday Night Raw. But it is very obvious that, another little breaking news thing here, I'll break in a second, but it is pretty obvious to me that they're headed for Splitsville. According to rumors, no, it's official. According to Adam Pearce, Stephanie Vaquer is an official member of the Monday Night Raw roster.
Oh
So
yeah. Did they
I didn't see
announce
that.
that last night? Maybe I thought they announced that last night. Maybe they didn't.
But again, I was a little, I was a
Yeah,
little
right,
behind and watching
right.
stuff all crazy. So for those of you that don't know, obviously a lot of you don't. My son had a talent show yesterday, so that was really fun. And then we brought him to Chuck E. Cheese after, so he got to, spend the day there. So I started wrestling a little late in order to spend some time with the kiddo,
It's
and
a good
it was
day.
worth it. It was pretty fun. Yeah, it was a good day. I'm trying to let me see, last Money in the Bank qualifier. Let's see.
Because this is the one because obviously whoever updated, I told you about that. I told you about that Wikipedia update. So
Yeah.
whoever made that Wikipedia, they were wrong because they had Fatu in there. So,
CM Punk,
but
AJ
it is
Styles,
CM Punk, AJ. Wow. Okay.
and El Grande Americano. El Grande Americano. There you go. Hey, look.
Wow. That's gonna be fun because I don't know, like anybody could win that legit, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, like I think the money is on Punk, but Styles winning that would be just as good. And El
El
Grande,
Grande Americano winning it would just further some storylines.
That would that would just make things ridiculous. But yeah, so
Well, and also, who else is in the Money in the Bank match? It's Penta, and who's his kryptonite? El
yeah,
Grande
no,
Americano.
that's what I'm
So
saying. Yeah, no, it's interesting. You've got kryptonite for Seth and kryptonite for Penta in that match. So man, no, that'll be interesting. And you know what? I have no idea what that match is going to look like.
It's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see it. Monday Night Raw is going to be good.
Just the difference of styles with all three of those guys, So
yeah, and assuming we know who's under the El Grande Americano mask, I mean, all three of these guys can absolutely go, dude. This match is going to be a banger. It's going to be so good. I can't wait for that.
I hope it was a headline match for Raw then.
It honestly, dude, it might be the opener.
That's
I
what I'm
wouldn't be shocked if it's like the opening match.
Opener wouldn't be bad, but yeah, I hope. Yeah, obviously
the opener or the main event. You got to put it. But I don't know if you value the El Grande Americano stuff highly enough as WWE to put it in the main event. I wouldn't have a problem with it, but WWE does weird stuff, so who knows. All right, so we get a little backstage segment between with LA Knight. And I thought this was just kind of funny because he was making fun of the punching their ticket, thing that they say. And so I thought that was a little clever. Look, I think LA Knight's one of the best on the mic in the whole entire company right now. Like I've said before in weeks past, I would love to see him with the briefcase, but we'll have to wait and see what he does next week because we didn't get to see much LA Knight the show. All right, final segment.
Oh, but then Aleister Black came up to him and said, "Hey."
Oh, you're right. I did forget about Aleister.
He said, "Hey, I got you in there." Basically, he's like,
yeah,
I'm the reason you got that ticket punched. So I don't know what that's going to bring up. I don't know if they have any history between the two of them or if that's going to start some LA Knight.
It would be something new.
Aleister Black, anything, whether it's a friendship or a rivalry, but just want to make sure that we throw that out there. Aleister Black did insert himself, and I want to see Aleister Black wrestle with meaning. So getting with LA Knight would do that probably.
All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap this up because I do have some other stuff I got to go take care of, unfortunately. But this last segment was pretty straightforward. Big surprises here. We got advertised all night Cody Rhodes and John Cena face to face for the first time in how long? Actually, like meeting face to face and not whatever. But since Saturday night's main event, for sure, first time that they're coming face to face. And Cody comes out. And he's hyping up the crowd and talking, and he says, well, you guys seem like you want something. Like you guys are waiting for something. They start yeeting, and he's like, man, that would be a huge surprise if the World Heavyweight Champion was here right now. And guess what? He is. Here's Jey Uso. And then Jey Uso just pops up. And I wrote it down here. I said, great promo before Cody brings out Jey with a bunch of exclamation points. Because how crazy is it that
the only thing that promo missed was I wanted Cody to say, play his music or something. Now that
would have been nice. That would have been good. That would have
like, don't get me wrong. He killed it on main event Jey. That was great. Yeah. But I wish he'd say, oh, Jay's here, so why don't you play his music? That would have been that.
That was great.
That's how I wanted him to drop him in there. But anyways.
So then Jey comes out, and we, of course, get the commercial break right before he makes it to the ring, the most opportune spot to run a commercial break. We were very upset about that in the comment or in the text thread, but we said, like, look, we just got to accept that this is the third time in a row for Jey Uso.
Yeah, you're right. That's where they cut it. They decided that's
we just have to. Yeah.
What's funny is we came back from commercial break and they were still yeeting. So
yeah, and then ran the music back, and so whenever they were having a good fun time, before Jey even really got to speak, John Cena comes out, and John Cena says, "Hey, look, you guys think you might think you have one up on me, but my tag partner is also here." And then he brings Logan Paul out, and look, I think this was a really good way to build some team chemistry between Cena and Logan. And Cena put Logan over really heavy. Like this whole promo felt like gassing up Logan Paul. It was
And it, like
blowing
I said,
smoke.
and this goes back to Knoxville. It's the perfect town to do it in. Because if there's a town that gets behind a guy like Logan Paul, it's Knoxville. We like winners, even if they're ugly, you know. And let's be honest here, Logan cooked on that promo, man. The only part he screwed up was right at the end when he threw John's name into the list when he was coming at Cody and Jay. He started John.
But he caught up really quick. I was proud of him for that.
No, he did. He did. But no, he cooked that whole promo about being a self-made man against two legacy guys, two self-made men against two legacy guys. Fantastic. And yeah, Cena being out there gave him a lot of legitimacy. Like you said, put him over with the crowd, helped ease those boos. But man, like that was the best promo I've ever seen Logan Paul give. And I hope the tag, I don't like that they showed like that little bit of tension between him and Cena there at the end, you know, where like like let them be friends for at least like a month before it falls out. I don't want it falling out already at Money in the Bank or whatever. I don't want like they can't get on the same page at Money in the Bank be the reason that they lose. I don't care if they lose, but I don't want that to be the reason that they lose.
I will say, I don't think that's going to be the reason they lose, but I think that they will lose, and that'll be the reason that they no longer.
That might be fine. You know, I can handle something like that.
I like that, but I agree with you.
Just
I don't want there to be any tension.
I don't want there to be like Logan's like, tag me, and Cena's like, no, I got, like, you know, or something like it's because you didn't tag, or you're sitting there arguing about the tag or something, you know.
And maybe, and if that were to happen to anyone, I think it would happen to Logan. Maybe Logan gets a little miffed about the way Cena kind of treated him on SmackDown,
or maybe Logan doesn't want to tag.
Hold out on a tag.
Yeah, or maybe Logan doesn't want to tag just because he feels that I can do this myself. I don't need you. Yeah, maybe. You know, but I mean, I'd rather that go down the line because I like this dynamic. I don't like it forever, but I like the dynamic of Cena and Logan Paul together because it makes Cena more swarmy in a believable way. Here's the other thing. What do you think about Cody bringing up the final boss?
That was interesting. That caught me off guard.
Right.
I'm gonna be real with you. I don't know what to think about it because I don't know what Dwayne is ever going to do at this point. And I've already expressed my lack of want to even see Dwayne around anymore.
Right. And, and I feel like that's kind of the vibe. But then, like I said, Cody just threw him out and just for a second didn't even say The Rock or Dwayne. He just said, you know, I think he was talking about the final this, the final that, and the final boss or something. I can't remember what the exact lines were, but I was like, so we just brought The Rock back into people's minds for some reason. Like that was deliberate. I don't know.
Yeah, look, it's not often that I don't know where we're going with stories, but I have no idea what happens with The Rock because I don't think The Rock knows what's going to happen with The Rock.
I wonder if he was even supposed to say the final boss. He just let that slip, or he thought it was a good idea at the time. Like was Cody,
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
With Cody, I don't know.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, so overall, I think the show was pretty decent. I thought, like you said, the wrestling was maybe the highlight of the show, which is always good for a wrestling show, for the wrestling to be the highlight and the storylines to also be good. It definitely felt in ways like a little bit of a filler episode because next week is going to be the heavier episodes of Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, and NXT going forward into Money in the Bank and into Worlds Collide. So I think next week we're going to have a lot more to talk about, but I thought overall the show was decent. Real quick, let's jump into some rumors. We don't have to dive too much into these, but a WWE employee told Fightful Select that if WrestleMania does eventually go to Saudi Arabia, there is a good possibility that it could be rebranded as Super WrestleMania, which is not surprising. They've done the greatest Royal Rumble there. They've done all kinds of big events like that. The Wrestling Observer newsletter says that the reason why Ricky Saints lost his championship on NXT, which was the North American Championship that Ethan Page now holds that we saw on SmackDown last night, is because he is expected on the main roster imminently. No surprise. And that Jordan Grace, who has not been successful in her championship match, is also apparently heading for the main roster soon and could very well be heading to SmackDown, is what I'm hearing about Jordan Grace. And WrestleVotes claims that WWE planned for Bianca Belair to enter with the University of Tennessee marching band for her return on last night's SmackDown as of a couple hours prior to the show starting.
I wonder what changed that. I wonder what
I don't
changed.
know. I'm not too sure because she's come out with bands and choirs and groups before, so it wouldn't have been too surprising.
I mean, I was surprised they were actually. I mean, if you're in Knoxville, I guess you got to be at the basketball arena there because that's the biggest venue, I guess. But I was surprised they were technically on campus. You know, like watching Fatu tearing stuff up. I'm like, it's tearing up my campus.
Yeah, man. Look, like I said at the beginning of the show, that's one of Matt's old stomping grounds. Matt is very well traveled and well educated from a lot of prestigious universities, and University of Tennessee is one of them. So hopefully they can get their quarterback situation worked out.
Go back to Tennessee real fast. I told you last night. Cena's shirt, man. Cena.
Yeah.
Cena, how are you going to wear the checkerboard and have them be diamonds? Is that like an insult? Like, what was that? What was that, John? Because, man, like, the shirt was great, Tennessee orange, but they were diamonds instead of checkerboard. It's a checkerboard, John. It's a checkerboard. It's not a diamond board.
Maybe it's a copyright issue. Maybe
maybe
whatever the issue is. Maybe it's legality.
Maybe that. Maybe WWE didn't want to do it. But I figure if you're filming in their bloody basketball arena.
I was about to say, but I assume that if you're already doing something with the university, and as WWE, you've also had NIL stuff going on, I don't understand how you couldn't strike a deal and be like, so we can't use the checkerboard. We can't do the. But no, it was really funny to see you point that out.
Because I wonder how many other people noticed. That's what I'm wondering. I wonder if only Tennessee. I wonder if any other Tennessee. Is there Tennessee people wearing that shirt in the audience? Like, you bought that shirt. It's not the checkerboard.
It's not the checker. It's not the checkerboard, John Cena. Get the checkerboard. All right. Well, we got to get you one of those shirts because that's the last time he's going to be in Knoxville.
Yeah. No. I mean, I'm probably gonna have to get one anyways. Now I'm just saying all that.
Yeah. You're gonna have to get it so you can show him like on a video. You know. But all right, look, we're going to get out of here. Hey, first of all, wanted to show a bunch of immense love for the love that you guys have been showing us on all of our socials. Look, dude, we just had a TikTok it's at 115,000 views right now. And then we have that same video up on Instagram that just hit 50,000 as of this morning. So you guys are absolutely killing it. You guys have gotten us over 200,000 total social media views just in the last less than a week. So you guys are really killing it for us. You guys seem to be liking takes and like what we're putting on. I'm even seeing the long form on YouTube slowly tick up here and there. So you guys are killing it. We're going to keep pumping out the content as long as you guys keep listening and watching it. And yeah, I'm just really appreciative to be able to put out content for you guys because I've always loved wrestling. It's where I cut my teeth. It's where I got involved in sports media, and having a friend like Matt who has had the love for it revitalized through just watching it even more so has made it even more fun. So seeing you guys tell us how great the takes are or how stupid as shit we are, I love all of them. I love all of them.
Let me know, dude. Like, educate me. Like I said, there's things Casey might not think I need to know that you think I need to know, like how to say Hurakarama correctly. You know, I mean, God,
look, dude, I posted that Dirty Dom video, and 80% of y'all loved it, but the 20% of y'all let me know how bad of an idea it was. And I love it because I'm an argumentative guy. I love to debate. I'll sit there and debate with you all day on social media. Now, we ended up getting a lot more comments on that video than I expected, so I couldn't respond to everything. And eventually, a lot of y'all haters just start saying the same shit. But it is fun. It is fun to bicker with you guys back and forth. So I love the love. I love the hate. Keep it all coming because we're here for it. So
heck yeah.
But all right.
Yeah.
That's gonna be it. That's gonna be it for us here at TK Wrestling.
Final thing, comic came in today. First cover appearance of the Dark Phoenix. So those comic fans out there, check that out. It's almost as mid as can be. It's got one little spine tick here, but on an issue that's older than 1980, probably older than me even. So a 40-plus-year-old comic. Yeah, definitely older than you. Yes.
My mom was 4 years old when that came out.
There we go. See, 1980, it was probably before me because I was born at the end of 1980. So, there we go.
I sometimes feel like I'm a lot older than I am, and then I realize it's 2025 and not 2005 anymore. So sometimes I forget how old I truly am. And I say how old I truly am, but I know I'm not old. Matt's not even old. I just forget that sometimes Matt's not in his late 30s and I'm not in my early 20s anymore.
Hey, look, I forget I'm not 25 all the time.
Yeah, well. All right, so that's going to do it for us here at TK Wrestling. Look, like I said, we're going to keep pumping out the content and keep making it for you guys. You guys just keep running it up. Like it, dislike it, love it, hate it. I don't care. I'm glad that you guys are reacting and interacting.
And
next time.
Tell us in the comments who's going to win the Money in the Bank final Money in the Bank qualifier. So I know to pick.
Yeah, who's going to win that Money in the Bank qualifier, and then we have Money in the Bank predictions coming up next week, where we're going to need all your predictions there as well. So get ready to give your opinions, right or wrong. Get ready to tell us we're right or wrong. And until next time, we're out of here.